I spent hours last night scrolling through all the platforms to try and find people's top books of 2024. After a lot of research on Bookstagram, BookTok and BookTube, I came to the conclusions, some solid conclusions I will say, about what people love the most in 2024. However, I did find in my research that a lot of the books that were read and loved I had already read. So firstly, before we get into the video, I do just want to quickly share these 3 books here as an honourable mention because Funny Story by Emily Henry, I've already read it. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, I have already read it as well. And Play Along, I can't read yet because it's the next book in a series that I am not up to date with. But those books got a hell of a lot of votes. But anyway, we're going to talk stats. Firstly, I was looking for 3 different genres: romance, fantasy and fiction, as those are the genres that I reach for the most. Now, without revealing the top ones and the books that we're going to be reading for this video, I thought I'd do a runners-up section. So what I'm about to show you are the ones that didn't win, but got very, very highly voted by everyone over on these platforms. Starting off with romance, we had Ready or Not with 7 votes. We had The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center with 6. Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan with 6 as well. Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto with 4. Nora Goes Off Script by Annabelle Monaghan with 3. Picking Daisies on Sundays with 2. Taming 7 with 2, which is very surprising. Same Time Next Summer with 2. And Not in Love with 2. Now we're going to go over to fantasy, and the second winner, so the runners-up, was Two Twisted Crowns with 6 votes. Bride by Ali Hazelwood with 5. Divine Rivals with 4. Reckless with 3. Again, surprising. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue with 3, Cruel Prince with 2, Quicksilver with 2, Lightlark with 2, and Legendary, which is the second book in the Caraval trilogy, with 2 as well. And lastly, we have fiction. As you can see, there wasn't too many on there, but we have The Women with 4 votes by Kristen Hanna, Beartown by Frederick Buckman with 3 votes, The Ministry of Time with 3 votes, and The Storied Life of AJ Fickery with 2 votes. And now I'm going to reveal the winner of each category, therefore will be the books that I'm going to be reading in today's video. Starting off with romance, can I have a drum roll please? Okay, I'm going to get on with it. We have The Ex Vows by Jessica Joyce, which is a second chance romance between 2 characters that help out with their best friend's wedding. When I was scrolling through YouTube to find the winner of the romance category, The Ex Vows barely came up. I think it got 2 votes on YouTube, so I didn't have any high hopes of me like reading it. It was at the bottom of the list, didn't really think too much of it. But then when I went onto Bookstagram and BookTube, it literally went past every single other book and won with a whopping 12 votes. And it was in a lot of the posts I looked at. And then for fantasy, our winner is... I'm not going to do the big drum roll again. Heartless Hunter, aka The Crimson Moth if you're in the UK. That got a whopping 9 votes and was the only book out of every single one of my research that was popular over all platforms. It was popular from the get-go on YouTube. It was popular on Bookstagram. It was popular on BookTube. It was everywhere. And it was the first book out of my entire research that got more than 5 votes before the others got even 1 vote. And lastly, our winner for fiction, drum roll. Okay, is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, a very well loved book over on every platform at the moment really, and The Nightingale got 6 votes. The Nightingale is a historical fiction that's set in France in 1942 I believe, and I feel like it got its rise to fame in 2024. That was when it really did become popular. I'm not actually sure on when it was released. I saw this one again on multiple different platforms. It was on BookTube, Bookstagram and BookTok, and personally I haven't heard anyone rate this book under a 4.5 star, so I have very, very high hopes for it. And now on screen you're going to see the creators that I managed to wade through their entire content for these stats. I watched their top books of 2024, I watched their my favourite 5-star reads of 2024, I watched every single video that you could imagine over on each platform. Bookstagram, BookTok, what's the one I've forgotten? Bookstagram, BookTok and BookTube and Goodreads and Fable and Storygraph, all of which I have curated these statistics. It took me a long time, let's just say that. And I also found these books as well throughout my research, but these are the ones that didn't get more than 1 vote, that were just mentioned once throughout this, which still have a little honourable mention on here as well. And there we go, a big thank you. I will see you in the reading vlog. I'm on chapter 10 of The Ex Vows, which is around the 23% mark. This book is a second chance romance between 2 characters called Georgia and Eli, and I'm not 100% sure like how they actually split up yet or what the reason why was, but it has been hinted at that his job takes over his life and it means that he sort of like misses events. Why is it so dark? And it just gets a little bit frustrating for Georgia, hence their split. I don't know if that's like the actual pivotal reason yet, but that definitely did contribute to it, so that is what I know so far. I know that they broke up 5 years ago. I felt like I was reading it really slowly. I'm on page 91, So I have read like a significant amount, I suppose, of the book, like a quarter of the way through the book, and I feel like it was reading quite slowly at first, but in like a calm, nice kind of way, not one that you just kind of like fly through. And I like that. I like that I'm taking my time. However, now that the plot has sort of picked up a little bit and stuff has started to happen, I'm reading it a lot faster, which is good. I felt like there was quite a few names to learn in the first couple of bits and stuff. She's got like her best friend Adam, her new best friend Jamie, who she used to live with, but then Jamie moved out and now she lives on her own, and then she's got Eli, her ex-boyfriend. They have like mutual friends. It's very confusing. Adam's wedding to, I can't even remember her name, Grace. Basically, Adam and Grace's wedding goes completely wrong. The actual venue sets on fire, and that is on the blurb. So then now Georgia and Eli need to basically arrange this wedding as quick as they possibly can due to something happening, which I won't say because it's a spoiler. And it's just crazy. Like, it's just got to the point now where they've started running the errands. They're going to a cake shop, they're going to go to the venue and stuff like that. And I'm really enjoying just seeing them, because obviously they're not comfortable around each other because they literally split up 5 years ago. They're not 100% comfortable, but they're doing it for the love of their mutual best friend, and I love that. I think I'm going to really enjoy this book. This is like a 5-star prediction for me. At this very moment, I think it's standing at like the 4.5-star mark, but if I have like a big connection to the characters, it's only going to get better. So I can't wait to read the rest of this book. So guys, it is update time. Sorry for the jump scare of me curling my eyelashes. But me and Lily are actually going to go to the gym tonight. We recently joined the gym at the start of obviously 2025 to become gym girlies. And that is like the goal of 2025. And we're doing very well. At the moment, I'm actually currently in my 7th day of 75 medium, which is a challenge that I have seen everywhere. But I sort of made up my own kind of rules to like put it into my life, and going very strong at the moment, which is great. Anyway, besides the point, I have decided, I haven't even finished the Ex Vows yet. I'm currently on page 139, which is chapter 14. So I haven't really read too much since my last update, but I wanted to start at the gym tonight, my second book for this video. So I thought I'd just quickly introduce it. Like, obviously, oh, hello. What is this? I obviously have already told you that it's Crimson Moth, aka Heartless Hunter. From what I know about it, it's a fantasy book that follows a witch and a witch hunter, but he doesn't know that she's the one he's hunting. And that just sounds insanely good. And I can understand from the concept of that alone why it was so widely loved by everyone in 2024, because I love that kind of trope. One of my all-time favourite books, which I've recently reread, was the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. It has a similar concept in that she is a serial killer. Lana Myers is the main female character. She's a serial killer, and the male love interest is an FBI agent called Logan, and he's working on her case trying to find the serial killer, and he doesn't know that Lana is the serial killer. The whole entire concept of that is just insanely good. Obviously it's going to be a little bit different because there's that like normal universe world compared to a fantasy world, but yeah, I have the audiobook to it, so I just thought it'd be a good idea. I do also have the Kindle edition. I bought the Kindle edition off of Amazon for like £4 or whatever it was, and then realised that I have it in my Scribed subscription. So that's kind of annoying because I could have just listened to it as an audiobook without even buying the Kindle edition. However, I do love hybrid reading and like switching between different editions of books. As you would have seen right now, I've already started reading the physical copy and the Kindle edition of the Ex Vows. I'm just going to be jamming it up with my audiobook. Anyway, this was a lot of words to say one thing, is that I'm going to be starting the audiobook at the gym. Fabulous. Hello guys, next day. I have still been listening to it as an audiobook. That is The Crimson Moth, and I'm currently on chapter 12 of 65. I've been listening to it while playing Minecraft this morning. I don't know why, I just got a random urge to do it. I always struggle with listening to audiobooks sometimes because when I'm doing something while listening to them, I thoroughly enjoy them, I get really immersed, but then the second I have to go on my phone or something like that, that's when I start to slip a little bit and think, oh, what did I just hear or whatever. Playing Minecraft was such a good activity. I've been playing it for an hour and I just listened to an hour of the audiobook, which is great. But my first impressions of the book so far, I'm really enjoying it. I am very new to fantasy still. I've read Fourth Wing, I've read the ACOTAR series, I've read the Shatter Me series, even though that's more dystopian than fantasy, and I've read the Harry Potter series, but that is the extent to my fantasy reading goes, I think. I don't think I've read, oh, and Powerless and Powerful by Lauren Roberts. So arguably you could say that's quite a lot because it's series and stuff like that. I've started the Throne of Glass series, but it's not high fantasy, if you know what I mean. It's more romantasy and stuff like that. And I believe this is as well because it's literally about two people arguably fake dating to gain an advantage on each other. And I'm really enjoying it. As I said, I'm very new to fantasy. I don't necessarily dabble into it too often, but I want to this year. I definitely want to try out new genres in the year and stuff like that. I'm really liking the fact that we've got some world building, we've got some backstory on Rune, our main character, and we're understanding her intentions as to why she wants to get with Gideon. And Gideon also has his own intentions as to why he is interested in Rune. Obviously, as we know, he is a witch hunter, she is the witch, and they both have their own, I don't want to keep saying the word intentions, but intentions in getting together to gain an advantage on each other. I really like the audiobook. It's narrated by a British narrator as well. Not that that really matters to me, but it's just fun because obviously I'm a British gal. But yeah, Hugo, come say hi. Say hello. Goodness me. Oh, you're so heavy. Oh no, you're facing the wrong way. But yeah, really enjoying the book so far. Very excited to carry it on. So I realised that I haven't really updated the vlog on the Ex Vows yet. I feel like I've been prioritising the Crimson Moth over the last day or two, simply because I had the audiobook and I had a very errandy day today, so I've just been listening to it pretty much all day. But I have managed to read a little bit more of the Ex Vows. I still haven't reached the halfway point, but I'm currently reading 3 books at the moment. As I said, I'm reading this, I'm reading the Crimson Moth, and I'm also reading a non-fiction book for my 75 medium challenge, so it's getting a little bit cray-cray in my little reader brain right now, so bear with me. However, I am finding myself missing the characters in this book and missing the entire book in general when I'm not reading it. I was sat there today and I was like, I just want to sit and read a cozy little romance right now. And as you guys probably know by now, second chance romances are some of my favourites. Some of my favourite tropes ever. And this book has had me giggling, it has had me on the verge of tears, and I'm really seeing myself in both of the main characters. Both Georgia and Eli are very relatable characters to me. I know that Eli sort of struggles with a little bit of mental health as well sometimes. He doesn't really like the way he is because, as I said, he prioritises work a lot, but I think he uses that as a coping mechanism to not get in his own head, if you know what I mean, and that is such an easy thing to do. I just feel like this book as well is so picturesque. I can vividly imagine every single scene in my mind. I can picture the tiny little details, the minuscule things about every scene in this book. I can imagine it as if I've been there, and that just seems amazing. When a book makes you feel like that, it's just amazing. The way that Jessica Joyce describes some of her scenes, the characters' thoughts and feelings, I really do feel like I am with them or in their own heads, and it's just great story writing. I am very in the mood to binge this book, but it is very late at night and I do want to go to bed quite soon. But I do have a day tomorrow where I can just film, edit and read, which sounds like my ideal day, to be honest. So I do plan on getting quite a bit of the way through this tomorrow, hopefully finishing it tomorrow. I have got another gym session and I don't know how that's going to go because I also plan on finishing the Crimson Moth because I've only got 2 hours left of the audiobook to listen to tomorrow, which is another amazing achievement. But this will be our priority for tomorrow because I feel like I've let it slip just a little bit over the last 2 days, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Do not let that fool you. I'm loving this book so much and I can understand why it is so well loved by everyone in 2024, and I'm excited to get further into it. I am just going to finish off my tea and read a couple more chapters before I go to sleep. Hello guys, I've actually officially finished all of the books for today's video and was editing it and realised that I hadn't actually reviewed any of the books. What a great booktuber am I? Not a very good one, obviously. So I'm going to do that here for you now. So you will see me from this angle again throughout this video, just quickly reviewing and wrapping up the books. So obviously we read the Ex Vows and I absolutely loved this book. It was a 5-star prediction for me because of how many great reviews I'd seen about it. I had very, very high hopes for this book. It wasn't a 5-star for me. I think I'm going to put it at the 4.25 mark. It was definitely memorable. Definitely one that I loved. It had tropes that I liked. The dialogue was great and flowy and really nice between the characters. The reason that they broke up was also very valid. I feel like with second chance romances, I can be really funny with the reasoning as to why they split up in the first place. Because say, for example, one of them cheated on the other one and then they got together, I find it very, very, very hard to root for that couple. For example, my all-time favourite books ever, I'm not going to say what book it is, but if you know, then you know. One of my all-time favourite books, the male main character cheats on the female main character. He has his reasonings behind it, but to me, cheating is not justifiable. So it's like, I can't root for you right now because you are a cheater. But in this case, it wasn't like that, and I really did want the couple to get back together. I was rooting for the couple as well. It was just an overall nice positive experience reading the book. I think I mentioned it when I was actually reading it, how atmospherical the book actually was. I felt like I was in the setting. I can vividly imagine every single place, every single scene, and I really, really enjoyed that. I love a book where I can just feel like I'm there, and it made me just want to go to like a little countryside, what's it called? Like where they were. That's where I want to go. I want to go there. And it just seemed very atmospheric, very nice. And I'm really happy that I read it when I read it. But overall, really good book. And I feel like it's definitely going to be one that's going to stick with me, that I'm actually going to remember bits out of. It made me cry towards the end as well. I feel like every single book in today's video has made me cry at some point. Great. But yeah, really enjoyed that one. 4.25 star. Me again from the same angle as before. I'm going to now review the Crimson Moth, aka Heartless Hunter. This was definitely a pleasant surprise for me. When I was doing my research and conducting this video and doing all my tally charts and stuff, when Crimson Moth got like the amount of votes it did, as I said in the intro, it was the first book to get like 5 votes before some of the others were even mentioned. Like, it was so popular and so widely loved. Probably the most loved out of all of the books I read for this video. It's insane. I was conducting my research and in my head I was like, I don't want to read this book. I'm not an overly fantasy girly. I don't really care about fantasy too much. Like, I've read a couple, I've dabbled in a couple. I've read like Harry Potter, ACOTAR, started Throne of Glass, read Powlett. Like, I've read a bit of romantasy, but I'm not like a die-hard fantasy girl. Like, I do enjoy it as a genre and I do want to get more into it, but it does intimidate me and it does scare me. So when I was conducting my research, I was like, I don't want to read this book, because a lot of the times that I'd seen it reviewed, it was very well loved by people that loved fantasy, and I was like, I don't think I'm the right target audience for this right now, because I'm not as into fantasy as I should be. I didn't know how high fantasy it was going to be, how high stakes it was going to be. So when I was researching it and it came up, I was like, I don't think this is for me. But then the second I started reading it and listening to it, I absolutely fell in love with it, and it was really, really good. I was debating rating it a 5-star because I was like, this was incredible. I thoroughly enjoyed every second of it. I was constantly thinking about what was going to happen next, and when I wasn't reading it, I was like, right, I need to get home so I can carry on reading it immediately. However, because I had to think about whether it was a 5-star, not going to rate it a 5-star, but it is going to be a 4.75 because it was amazing. The characters were amazing, the plot was amazing. I was constantly wondering what was going to happen next. I was constantly wanting to read it, so I'm very, very happy with this book. And considering I didn't want to read it and I had like no hopes for it because of my personal taste, I was like, great. I absolutely loved it. I feel like going into it with no expectation really helped it for me, so definitely read that book. It's so good. So a 4.75. I have started The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I started it last night on my Kindle before I went to bed at a very awkward hour of the morning. I think it was like 2 AM, and that did not bode well for my tiny little brain. This book is set in France in the 1940s during the First World War, so it's not an easy read topic wise, as well as the writing style was a little bit, I don't want to say complex, because it is a very easy writing style from what I figured out so far. It's not like your normal standard fluffy book talky romance, if you know what I mean. Like, it's a little bit harder on the brain to read than like a normal book, and obviously as it is set in France, there's certain phrases, terms, places, names that aren't to my standard of my day-to-day life, so it takes a little bit more for me to get into it. That being said, I read the first 13 pages of it in bed last night, which I think is like the first chapter, maybe the first chapter and a bit. Didn't want to pick it up this morning because I just wasn't really into it, and I really struggle like getting into books. I'm like, okay, once I'm into a book I will binge literally the entirety of it in one sitting, but I was like, I'm not invested, so I just don't want to read right now. So I was like, nope, I need to do it. It's the weekend, I want to finish a book this weekend, and obviously this is my current read. I was like, right, I'm gonna get into this book, and I started reading from where I left off last night, like as I said, page like 13, page 12, and it was fine, but I was like, I'm struggling, and I don't know if it's because I started it when I was so tired. All of that to say, I restarted it from the first page, and on the second read of the first chapter, I already liked it a lot more. I'm literally simply putting it down to the fact that I was so tired. I was literally so tired last night. It is embarrassing how nothing went into my head, but I'm enjoying it a lot more now. This book follows two sisters. As I said, it is set in the World War, and it's kind of their perspective on everything. You've got the first sister called, I don't want to butcher any names, Vian, and her husband has been taken to war. He is on the front line, and basically her job is to hold down the fort at home, deal with it. She doesn't really believe in war. She's like, it won't happen to us, and now it has. I'm assuming she's going to struggle with that, but I haven't actually seen her point of view since. I have also got into her sister Isabel's point of view, and she is more of a hands-on kind of person. She's like, I want to help, I want to be a nurse, I want to be an ambulance driver, I want to transport refugees and like help people in some kind of way, help with rations and stuff like that. Any job that she can physically do to get involved in the war, she wants to do, which is obviously really, really nice and really kind of her to want to go and do that in such a terrifying time. And also, as you can imagine, it is set in the 1940s, so life for women back then was also a lot different. Nowadays, anyone, I suppose, could maybe help in the war if they wanted to. If anything, they may have to. Whereas back in the day, it was up to the men to sort everything out and stuff like that. So when a woman volunteered herself and her time, they were like, you can't do that, you're a woman. So I can imagine that she's going to be a very strong and willful character to read about. But I'm really liking the fact that we've got two different outlooks on this war so far. It starts off with both of the sisters, Vian and Isabel. They get abandoned by their father basically and get sent away, and now are living two separate lives. Isabel is significantly younger, and she's still in school, and she's getting kicked out of every boarding school that can imagine, whereas her older sister Vian is married with a child, holding down the fort and stuff like that, while her husband is at war. So you've got two separate scenarios, but for now I'm really enjoying it. I am only on chapter 6, so page 43. The font is tiny. I do have the Kindle edition, but I have been reading it physically because I'm just really enjoying reading physically at the moment. However, the font is so small, and as I said, there's certain like terminology and place names and stuff like that that I'm not necessarily used to, so I'm reading it slower. It is a very slow read at the moment in my eyes, but I think once I get into the story a little bit more, it will definitely speed up. I think even in the last like 10 pages alone, I've been reading that quicker than I did the first 10, so I'm happy now that not even the pacing hasn't really changed. The pacing has stayed the same throughout the whole like last 40 pages, but I think where I'm getting used to it and getting into the plot, getting attached to the characters, the plot has just started to actually like build up a little bit. I'm very, very happy with where that is at the moment, and I'm reading it a lot faster. So guys, I have an update for The Nightingale by Kristen Hannah. I am having a very weird time with this book. I don't love it as much as I thought I would, and I don't hate it either. I'm enjoying the journey it's taking me on, but I don't really find myself like wanting to pick it up when I'm not reading it. And I really did debate DNFing it. This was very nearly going to be a soft DNF of 2025 already, which is not a good thing. Like, I'm enjoying it. I'm nearly halfway through at this point. I actually haven't moved my bookmark. I have been listening to it as an audiobook at the same time as well, to kind of like immerse myself into the story. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I'm enjoying the actual story as much as you can enjoy a story about a war, if you know what I mean. I think the writing style is very interesting. It's a good, easy writing style, but I don't know, I just can't see myself agreeing with it too much. But I'm going to power through and we will see. I'm going to read a little bit more now. I have finally finished The Nightingale by Kristen Hannah. I did actually film myself finishing it and crying finishing it, and then the second I was about to review it, my battery died. So here I am, finishing off this review. This book I was so excited to read. It was probably my most anticipated read when I started this video. I was like, great, can't wait, so excited to read it. And it wasn't exactly, I don't want to say it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because it was, but I thought I was going to really like it more. When I was actually reading it, I was very involved. I wanted to know what happened next. The characters were very, very interesting and complex, and I really wanted to know sort of what was going on. But then when I wasn't reading it, I didn't want to find myself picking it back up. And I don't know if that's because I loved Heartless Hunter so much, and like that kept me invested the whole entire time. And when I read this, it was kind of like really awkward, but I feel like the pacing was a little bit weird in this book. Some of the chapters I was like, right, I need to know what happens next. I'm going to read on. I'm going to read like 100 pages in one sitting. And then by the time the next chapter comes around, I was like, when is this chapter going to be over? It's so long and I'm so bored. Like, I just don't know. I found it really, really hard to get through, and it was still very interesting. And obviously it's a book about World War II. It's not going to be an easy read, and I did actually enjoy it. I think I'm still going to rate it like a 4-star. Like, it was still very good, but in general it wasn't as gripping as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more fast paced, and then I powered through, and I'm glad I did, because I really liked it. The ending made me cry. Like, I cared enough for it to make me cry, and I cared enough to actually like get emotion out of this book, because you know that I care about a book when I cry, because if I don't care, I don't care. But this did make me cry. The ending was nice. I really enjoyed the ending of the book. I was more interested in the bits where they were coming out of the war, and like just towards the end of the book. Like, the second half of the book changed the game for me. The first half was very, very slow. The second half, however, I would rate that alone higher than I would rate the first half. I just felt like the pacing was a little bit weird. If it was consistent pacing the whole way through, if it was slow all the way through, then that's fine. Happy for a slow book. If it was fast all the way through, happy for a fast book. But the fact that it was like chop and change every 2 seconds, it just kind of threw me off, and I just didn't find myself wanting to pick it up. As I said, when I was picking it up, when I was actually sitting there reading it, I was enjoying myself and having a, you know, great fun time. But when I put it down for the day, it would get to the point where I was at 8 PM, I was like, right, I need to read this book, and I want to finish it. Like, I'm on a roll with my reading this year, and then I'd be like, but I don't want to read that, and I want to start something else. So I don't know, it wasn't necessarily the book, it might have just been the mood that I was in at the time, because books like this I really like, and I really do enjoy historical fiction, and I do definitely want to dabble more into historical fiction. I was very interested in little bits about World War II, and if this is historically accurate, then I have learned a lot more about World War II than I thought I did, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know, it was very, I don't want to say educational, but I don't know, it was a bit insightful. I want to say it was insightful, but like, yeah, I have not seen this book rated under a 4.5 star. I've seen people rate this like 1,000,000 stars, infinity stars, absolutely loved it, new favourite author, and I feel like I would like her other work as well. I'm definitely going to try out more Kristen Hannah books, because I really liked her writing style. It was very, very good, but I just feel like I think it was me. I don't think it was the book, I think it was me, and that's okay. But that does mean that we have now read every single book for today's video, which is amazing, and I do have quite a good result out of this. I do put my faith in you guys for your top books of 2024, because obviously we've had a 4.25, a 4.75 and a 4-star, which is quite good going, if I do say so myself. And the one that I thought I would like the most is arguably the one that I liked the least, which is insane. But I do feel like this research was worthwhile. It took me hours. I did research for a hell of a long time, but it was all worth it in the end, because I have found some favourite reads from it, which is great. But that is everything for today's video. I have a lot more on the way, so definitely stay tuned for that. But if you did enjoy this one, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you in my next one. Love you guys lots. Bye.